The fired VA secretary says he was undone not by the list of scandals or a mounting rebellion at the agency, but by those who want to privatize veterans' health care. Writing in a New York Times op-ed, he says the administration saw me as an obstacle to privatization who had to be removed. I am convinced that privatization is a political issue aimed at rewarding select people and companies with profits, even if it undermines care for veterans. But my next guest says it's past time that we privatize this behemoth agency. Dan Mitchell, the chairman of the Center for Freedom and Prosperity, joins me right now. And Dan, he's certainly going out with a bang there, swinging and taking these shots at the administration. He thinks it's because he wasn't committed to privatization. I know that you think that's the best possible outcome for the VA, to actually allow portions of it to be privatized and to allow our veterans options. Explain why.
Well, the current system clearly is a disgrace, whether you're talking about the scandals that got the previous secretary caught up, whether you talk about the secret waiting list, whether you talk about VA bureaucrats awarding themselves bonuses after putting veterans on secret waiting lists and letting them in some cases die. But to me, this is an issue where both taxpayers and veterans would benefit if we move more toward the private sector instead of this sort of segregated form of government-run health care that obviously doesn't do a very good job.
Well, I mean, what about what Shulkin's saying here, that he's concerned that the swamp will have too much of a presence in there, and the swamp will basically cut deals, so then they're being artificially rewarded. I mean, how do you protect against that kind of thing, Dan?
Oh, there is a danger of that, and that's why, privatization is just a term, but what does it actually mean in policy, in a policy sense? If all you're doing is saying, okay, veterans, instead of going to this rundown VA hospital with the long waiting lines, we're going to shuttle you off to this particular healthcare company, well, that could be a recipe for cronyism, which is why I think the best way of privatizing is when people join the military at that stage in time, put the money in up front to get them a disability insurance package that has a very generous and appropriate level of benefits, and then they can choose, the veterans, when they're out of the service or if they get injured while in the service, they can then choose, okay, what health care provider am I going to go to with this prepaid package of benefits?
And that might actually incentivize the VA to be doing a good job, too, because they want to win the business.
Yeah, I don't think they would, because it's such a dysfunctional bureaucracy. It's basically run for the benefit of the bureaucrats, not for the benefit of the veterans. And I think only real privatization ultimately gets around that problem. Although, if I was a veteran, would I want to go to someplace outside the VA, like the semi-privatization? Yeah, I'd probably want that, too.